with me. Come and fly away 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 with me. Don't you be afraid, everything will change. You and I jumping off the edge. They say dreamers never die. So come and fly, come and fly, come and fly away with me. We're rising, we're falling, we're making through. We're climbing, we're soaring, 1,000 views. Somewhere by the emerald sea, where the moon and water meet. Somewhere close to harmony, when the world is sound asleep. Something's gonna bring the change, journeys we are meant to take. Something at the edge of space, calling us to fly away. Don't you be afraid, everything will change. You and I jumping off the edge. They say dreamers never die. So come and fly, come and fly, come and fly away with me. We're rising, we're falling, we're making through. We're climbing, we're soaring, 1,000 views. Come and fly away, come and fly away, come and fly away with me. Come and fly away, come and fly away, come and fly away with me. Something's gonna bring the change, journeys we are meant to take. Something at the edge of space, calling us to fly away. Let's sing a song full of hope, full of pain. Why don't you sing along, my friend? For it's our last refrain. Forever young, ever strong, ever brave. Memories like this never end. No, they don't fade away. So when I'm gone, oh, when I'm
All
gone,
right, everybody, get started.
close
Everybody,
to
doing
the
well.
sun.
Where's the music? Here.
Keep holding on, keep holding
All
on.
right. Hey, welcome to day two of the Deep Work Challenge. My name is Sean Murphy, and it's great to be here. We're going to go into more of the deep work and what happens and why it happens the way it does. And the biggest reason to understand this is that to think we're doing deep work is sometimes not necessarily the truth. Why? Because we are so used to doing shallow work, to doing multitask, to doing cognitive, very light cognitive conversations with ourselves, that we struggle with the ability to do deep work. So that being said, let me go ahead and open up a website here and get a little bit of a presentation going for you so that I can help guide you and give you some more input and understanding. Let me just do one more thing here real quick, just from a sound standpoint. Got some extra sound going on here. Okay. All right, day two, deep work. Share. I want to go screens. I want to go here. And I want to share sound because there's going to be some cool stuff in here. And you now see the power of deep work. This all is based on, a lot of it is based on, I would say 95% of it's based on Cal Newport. And Cal Newport understanding and having done this book, Deep Work, some time ago. It's pretty important when you look at today's cognitive functioning, right? Let me ask you this question. Does your business model require you to think? Kind of a simple question. If your business model requires you to think, then you need the ability to have cognitively focused functioning. And we're going to talk in a little bit about whether you're process driven or creative driven. And there's two different kinds of, that's two totally different processing functions. So this idea of power of deep work, now for those of you in attendance and those of you that are part of the Dangerous Consciousness dashboard, you can have access to this. Wait a second, let me click this over here, send that live to Zoom. You can have access to this on the dashboard. You'll see a presentation where you'll see all of these slides. But here's the thing I just want you to pay attention to. So here's a little bit of talk.
So let's get on to the meat of our business today, which is our next core idea segment.
Kind of, that's embedded right into the presentation that you'll be able to see later on. So this is, again, about Cal Newport, about his book, Deep Work. If you don't have it, great book. It does take some deep work to read it. So let's move on. So understanding the context shifts and their impact on deep work. So if you multitask, you're doing what's known in the mental world, in the world of psychology, in the world of brain study, something called context shifting. When you shift from one thing to another, I'm working on my emails and now I'm dealing with a text from a friend. I need to get back to building my business. I've got a message from my upline about a meeting, an event, and I just got a note from my mom that she needs me to go pick up milk. That's context shifting. And the challenge with context shifting, aka multitasking, is a phenomenon known as attention residual. The thing that just hangs out there in the ether in your mind. Research shows that's about 23 minutes to get back focused, back in, if you were truly focused ever into that methodology, into that action, into that cognitive process. It takes about 23 minutes to eliminate the residual the residual attention that takes place when you shift. So context shift occurs when you shift your focus from one task to another, even if the switch is brief. I get into, well, I shouldn't say I get into arguments. People want to argue, want to prove a point and tell me they can do this. They want to argue that they can do multitasking. How many of us have ever watched a child play a video game? And they do it very elementary. They do it with very basic skills. Does that child know they're doing it with basic skills, or do they think they're literally crushing it? They are like the God's gift to that app, and they are just absolutely killing it. And yet, you know, it's hardly using any of their brain power. This is where we are. When people tell me they can multitask, I know they're speaking from a very youthful, a very young understanding, a very childish perception of their ability to do a task well. So cognitive context shifting, answering a quick email or two, maybe doing a major task, each demands cognitive reorientation. So here's what happens. There's a cognitive load increase. The ability, right, if there's attention residual that's left over from when you switch from this task to that task, Is there attention residual left over from these two tasks when you switch to the third task? And what is the brain constantly wanting? The brain is constantly wanting to check the box, it's done. And if it's not done, it sits there and it spins and it tries to find ways to make it done. So it's kind of intense what it can do to us in a non-positive way. So cognitive increase, each context shift forces you and to a new cognitive load, adding more to the brain. How many of you are exhausted at the end of the day and you were sitting at your desk? You ever have that happen? You're sitting at your desk all day and you've been working and you've been doing projects, putting out fires. Who's put out fires? I've been putting out fires and I've been dealing with challenges. That is not deep work. That is not deep work. It's not deep work. It's not. So there's cognitive load that increases. Every context shift increases your cognitive load because the brain must reorient itself to the new task. This reorientation involves reacting or recalling where you left off, what the new task requires and how to approach it. The additional cognitive effort depletes mental resources. I'm just exhausted. You've been sitting at your desk all day thinking, not even thinking, reacting, right? So there's all of that that takes place. Then there's reduced focus and concentration. The idea that we need to, or we have to, or we get to multitask really changes the way that we can produce a product, produce an outcome. This idea of producing an outcome, producing something that is a product of ours. Let me ask you this. The products you produce, would you like them to be better? Could they be better? What would it take to make them better? You probably have access to tools and technology. It requires you to add more of you, more of thinking, right? So what do we wind up doing? We wind up saying that, well, you know, I didn't get it done and it's a waste of time. I'm not going to do lives. It's a waste of time. I'm not going to do PowerPoints. It's a waste of time. I'm not going to do fill in the blank. Studies show that it can take several minutes to regain full concentration after a context shift, 23 minutes it shows. This phenomenon, known as attention residue, means that a part of your attention remains stuck. What happens, just think about how many times you shift your cognitive attention. How many times do you switch from a task to a task to a task to a task, and you're doing 3 or 4 things, you got your email up. How many times is your attention drawn away from your main goal? Now, let me ask you this. If you had to pay $1 for every distracted minute, and you got paid for every dollar you made focused attention production, do you realize if right now I can see out of the corner of my eye on my second screen, I can see the text, I can see the, what do you call it, the closed caption. My attention is literally drawn to watching these white lines. I can't read them, white lines moving up my screen. That draws my attention. I'm still focused, I'm looking here, it looks like I'm paying attention, but my cognitive brain, my cognitive awareness is saying there's something scrolling over here. What is it? And I had to determine it was the text. That's the closed caption from this meeting. That draws my attention away from you. The brain can't think of 2 things at the same time. It thinks of one thing at a time. It's going you, there's a line increase. It's going you, it's a line increase. How many of you have an awareness of something like this happening in your world? Do you realize that every time one of those lines scrolls up, if I give it attention, if I know the line scrolls up, it's kind of like saying, well, don't think of a pink elephant. Well, now all I'm doing is thinking of the line scrolling up. Every one of those is costing me 23 minutes. I really want you to grasp this. People say, well, listen, you're a goofball. You're a nut job. You barely made it through high school. You never had any higher education. How did you get all of these certifications, all of these connections with people at significant levels? Deep work. I'll put on headphones and I'll shut everything off and I will go into a deep state. I will put a frequency that allows me deep concentration. So it allows me to put the quality of my work higher. The constant interruption caused by context shifts prevents you from achieving deep, sustained focus for high quality work. Does your income producing activity require you to use your mind? Does your income producing activity require your cognitive functions? Ladies and gentlemen, if it requires your cognitive functions, you can increase your income significantly by doing deep work. Deep work allows you to fully engage in complex tasks, leading to higher quality and more innovative results. And the big one, stress and burnout, right? So many people say, I'm stressed, right? How many of you have heard the term, the Great Resignation? Right? Because of the COVID and people being able to work at home and saying, listen, I want more out of life. You talk to the younger crowd, those in their 20s and 30s, saying, I'm not going to work in that environment. I choose my freedom. I choose technology. I choose for this to be my office, to have my phone as my office. I want to be able to sit on a boardwalk or in a boardroom. I want to be able to walk a mountain or maintain my silence. So there's going to be, would you say that we're being tasked with more cognitive ability, or we're going to need less cognitive ability in the future? Are we going to need to use more of our brain or less of our brain? Now, it depends. They say that there's going to be three modes of income, three primary modes of income in the future. One, build the machine, right? Right now, it's AI is building the machine. They said there'd be self-driving trucks long before there'd be self-thinking computers. AI, build the machine. So can you build? Do you understand how to construct the machine, the technology, the tools, the things necessary for people to be able to use them? In some of our businesses, that's called creating systems. Why do you think the personal development world has just absolutely catapulted the volume with which people are spending money on how to sharpen their own saw? It's because of systems and technology people have that they've been able to create and formulate simple processes that you can plug into that would allow you to better yourself. The second modality is teach how to use the machine. Build it, teach how to use it. Do you realize, let me just do this real quick. Let me just stop this for just a second. Do you realize that the thing that you have the ability to learn how to teach right now and to teach people how to use is this machine? It's literally this machine right here. This has never not been available. Build the machine, I can't build the brain, but teach you how to use it, teach you how to make it work more towards your will and desires versus against you. Dorothea Brande, in her 1920 book, Wake Up and Live, in the 1920s, now we knew it before, but she was one of the first ones, a woman, to say it in a time that women didn't necessarily have all of the credibility that they should have. She said, we're programmed to fail. And we fail with enthusiasm. And we programmed to fail. We are programming ourselves to fail. And here's the thing that we say: as long as you don't talk about my inadequacies, I won't talk about yours. You want to know how this is true? How many of you have a very good friend that you know they could be easily getting so much closer to their goal than they are right now. You know that your friend, your good friend, has more skill, more talent, more capability than they're using. Y'all know somebody like that? Well, guess what? You got friends that think the same thing about you. We are programmed to fail. We're taught poverty. How do I know we're taught poverty? After 200 years and all of the technology and Google, you can Google. I dare you, go Google how to make money and see in how fast, in a blink of in less than a second, how many results come back. We get so stuck in strategy. You have hundreds of thousands of strategies of how to make money. We just don't have the state. We don't know how to rewire this thing, teaching people how to use their machine. Right? So build it, teach others how to use it, and then the third modality is how to use it to advance. How to be on the cutting edge of that, so how you can help the creators create more. Creators create, builders build, users use, and then those who have the creative instinct, right? In the Bible, it says his name will come. Myron Goldman says there's 4 ways to create income. Manipulation, dig a ditch, flip burgers. Nothing wrong with that. I didn't flip burgers, but I did work at Home Depot. So manipulation, coordination. Be the one who organizes the flippers and the diggers and the movers and the shakers. Right? Manipulation, coordination, communication. Third one is communication. And fourth one is imagination. Right? The guy who created the movie Avatar, the ones who build Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, those are ones using their imagination. We must be a multiplanetary species. Well, I'm sorry, what? How did you think of that? That idea has been available since we were aware of other planets. But now it becomes commonplace because one man had the vision, the imagination to think of it. That takes some deep work. Does this make sense? So understand, where are you at in the model? Manipulation, coordination, communication, or imagination. If you're in some kind of sales, in teaching, in training, in leading people, you can excel, you can elevate your success simply by understanding, what does it take to communicate better? Here's the reality. I'm in sales. I'm in sales training. I deal with executives, single moms, CEOs, marketing executives. I deal with humans. And if I understand communication, I have to understand how they receive communication, because I don't know about you, but I've said things plain and clear and crisp, and people said, I don't know what you're saying. So my deep work is understanding how to communicate an imagination, a vision that somebody can attach themselves to, that's their vision, and then they begin communicating that to themselves. That takes deep work. That literally takes deep work. Yet in one of the professions, one of the business models I'm a part of, people always ask, well, how do you do that? Give me a script. They're asking for a line of communication. Listen carefully. They're asking for a line of communication that when they repeat it, it fails. They can say the exact words that the author of a successful line of communication, aka dialogue presentation, says to another human being, and they get positive results. And somebody says, I need your presentation. This is where Wallace D. Waddell says, it's not about doing certain things, the presentation, it's about doing it in a certain way. Understanding how important deep work is to be able to shift the slightest little intonation, inclination, tonation of your voice at a particular time that can take things that weren't working and turn them into absolute magnificent income producing conversations. This making sense? This is some big stuff. I get it. It's some big stuff. This is deep work. You probably have not heard these things because most people want to focus on the strategy. Deep work is a state. Deep work is an action, period. It's the ability to focus on something while minimizing distractions so that you can take your awareness to the next level. That is an action. It's a strategy. It requires a certain state to perform that strategy at its highest capabilities. Make sense? Okay. Let me get back to sharing this. I got to put back in present. Here we go. Okay, strategies to minimize context. Hang on, share screen coming up. So time blocking. Now, time blocking, you'll see there's a video here. So yesterday we talked about the Pomodoro method. Pomodoro is actually Italian for tomato. It's not a person. The reason that it has that Pomodoro name is because he used a kitchen timer that was a tomato. Right? So inside the presentation, you'll be able to see here, this is just a YouTube link that if you go over here and he tells you about.
The Pomodoro technique is a time management strategy that was developed in the late 1980s by Francesco Cirillo.
Entrepreneur.
Hold on.
The technique is named after the tomato-shaped kitchen timer that he used to track his work. In fact, the
word Pomodoro is Italian for tomato. It involves breaking work into intervals, traditionally 25 minutes in length, separated by short breaks. These intervals are known as pomodoros, hence the name of the technique. To use the technique, first, make a to-do list of all the
So there's actually, if you Google that word, Pomodoro technique, there's a website that has a timer on it that you can actually time in your tasks, click the timer and it starts counting down. And then when you're done with that 25 minutes, you get up, you take a break, you start the timer for 5 minutes. In the book Playing Full Out, they talked about 90-minute blocks and then taking a 15-minute break to be able to give your, and not 15 minutes, okay, I'm done with working on my presentation, let me go check my emails. No, going outside. If you can get outside, get into the sun, go play with your dogs, your cat, your parrot, your goldfish, get your mind switched off so that it can recharge. It's pretty amazing. So time blocking, time chunking. The other thing you can do is you can color code things, right? There's a whole bunch of ways to be able to maximize your efficiency and your effectiveness in your time awareness. Task prioritization. This is one of the best ways to use is what the Ben Franklin method, AKA the Franklin Covey method. You have your list of tasks, you just dump your mind, task. And this is good if you do it the night before. Jim Rohn says, never start your day till it's finished on paper. So list out all your tasks, just the bullets of them. And then go through and understanding income producing activities or the methodology of Brian Tracy. What did Brian Tracy say? What's his book? What's one of the books he's known for? Eat the frog first. Do that thing first. So what Ben Franklin did and Franklin Covey does in the Franklin Covey planners is they have you look at all of the lists and tag them A, B, or C. Highest priority needs to get done. B, urgent, but not necessarily the highest priority. And C, that would be awesome if it got done today. Then you go list all of the things as A. It's not just 3 things. You could have a list of 10 things. This is A, that's a C, this is a B, that's an A, B, B, right? You understand that? And then you go back through and you look at the A's because you got to get all the A's done. The A's have it. You go back and prioritize them. 1, 2, A1, A2, A3, A4. And guess what? What would happen if you got all your A's done? What would happen? What would happen if you focused, really focused, distraction free, 25 minutes? Do you know how much you can get done in 25 minutes? Do you realize we're only 5 minutes over our 25 minutes so far? We're 30 minutes into this presentation. So we have just done 25 minutes and a 5-minute break. We got a lot of stuff done. We talked about a lot of stuff. We challenged your cognitive ability awful lot in the last couple of minutes. So avoid multitasking, and this is what the Covey method does, right? Ben Franklin's method, the ABC, do your A's, do that one, do it till it's done. How many of you have some tasks right now you keep pushing off? How many of you are going to have tagged on the inside of your coffin lid a to-do list? I heard this at the ANMP. I forget which speaker said it, but they said this: die with memories, not dreams. Let that settle in for just a second. Die with having done all of the wonderful things you've done, not the I wish I should have, could have, would have, plane, train, buses, and automobiles. I shouldn't have spent more time scrolling. Can you imagine how many people today are going to say that when they're sick? I shouldn't have scrolled so many hours. Just saying. So task prioritization, that's another one. And then put this back over here so I can. Environmental control. Dedicated workspace. In one of the videos that you'll see inside of this in the dashboard, Cal Newport talks about an interview that was done with Jerry Seinfeld. Jerry Seinfeld is a very deep work kind of person. How do I know that? Because he'd spend 2 hours on how to take a 4-word sentence and get it down to 3 words. Mark Twain said this: the difference between the right word, listen carefully, and the almost right word, the right word and the almost right word is the difference between the right word being lightning and the almost right word being a lightning bug. That's a big difference. The difference between the right word and the almost right word is the difference between lightning and a lightning bug. Having your place where you do your work, closed door, websites turned off, phone turned off. Right now, is your phone on vibrate or is it on sound? I can promise you, if it's on sound, it's making a noise and you're going to be distracted. And that's not for me. It's part of your life. But if you want to go create some significant income, let me ask you, how many of you, if you thought better and thought bigger, your income would match it? Then wouldn't it make sense to understand this thing up here? It's why I went into the neuroencoding, into the brain training, into the brain talk, into understanding addiction to approval, into understanding mental toughness, to understanding how tapping can relieve stress in the body through meridian points. Literally all about the brain. Why I look at certain ingredients, certain chemicals, certain chemicals that you can use for the brain to help extend it and speed it up. Water's a great thing. Things that are produced in the body, ketones are a great thing. Colostrum's a great thing. All of these things to get your body to operate at its highest and peak performance. So part of your environmental control is to have it temperature regulated, to have the sun just right, have it and do your best to have it at the same time. So when they were talking to Jerry Seinfeld and they said, do you have a special place to be creative? Listen carefully to his response. His quote response was, I do. Give me a legal pad and a flat surface and I can do it anywhere. So most people will hear, oh, I can do it anywhere. If you listen to the words, the first 2 words say it all. Do you have a certain place where you do your creative writing? I do. But Jerry's into the creative process, not the performance process. And the creative process says I can do it anywhere. I need to do it often. So I have my place, yet give me a flat surface and a legal pad and I can be creative in almost any environment. Do you have rituals? I can usually tell somebody who's spoken on a regular basis when I'm backstage emceeing an event, because I will ask them. I go, how long do you need for your pre-game ritual? And they'll say, I need about 10 minutes. Others will say, no, I'm good. I'm ready to go. They ain't that good. You watch any baseball player, any athlete, any Olympic individual, anybody who's getting paid 7 figures, 6 or 7 figures for their talent, they have rituals. Do you have rituals? Well, I kind of sort of maybe want to have rituals. I can, maybe I'll meditate today and maybe next Thursday I'll meditate. And I know they're good. When I do it, it's good for me. When I do it, it's good for me. I feel good and I have a great day. Do you do it every day? No, not every day. Okay. So what I'm sharing with you are tools for you to be able to take away today. You don't have to buy the program. You may want to, but you don't have to invest any. I'm giving you value, because if this is the value I'm giving at a no-fee conversation, imagine what the fee-based conversation will be like. Mindfulness and meditation. Collapse that. Open this. Do you practice? Do you know when you're practicing? Or are you doing to check a box? How many of you have ever been at a presentation, at a training, or watched somebody give a BizOp presentation, and they were doing it just to get through it? They were doing it to flip slides or advance a projector or do something. They weren't mindful of the conversation. They weren't putting themselves into the environment and picking up on the ether from their audience. Somebody so scared to be on stage that they went through their script slide by slide, card by card, and was reading it off the slide, and they had nothing else to add other than what they already wrote. They didn't practice. Let me ask you this. How much of today have you spent in practice for your ultimate goal, your big, hairy, audacious goal, your BHAG? How much have you spent in practice? Or have you just been doing all day, doing, checking box, did that, did my post, did this, did that, did this? Was any of it practice for your ultimate arrival at the dream and the desire and the goal that you're fighting for and wanting for and wishing for and working for and sweating for and staying up late for and waking up early for and getting anxious for? Have you been in practice for it? Have you been in practice for it? If you haven't, I would encourage you to start today. You get to start today. Don't say, oh, I could have been doing that for months. Oh my gosh, I didn't know I should be practicing. This is what's called awareness. See, this presentation is for 10,000 people. This is a practice for 10,000 people. I'm not sure how many are here. I could look at an indicator somewhere and it would tell me. But it's a lot less than 100. I'm not presenting to a handful. I'm presenting to a significant group of individuals who are of a psychographic, who want to learn how to have more. And they want it in this lifetime. Is that making sense? So here's the conclusion of this slide. Understanding and minimizing context shifts. Could you imagine if every time I had the idea of a thought that was from Wallace D. Wattles or from Napoleon Hill or Earl Nightingale, that I went, oh, wait a minute, let me go find another video. Let me go find another video. Good stuff. Good stuff. It's not for this conversation right now. This conversation is based upon deep work and staying focused on the content. Does that make sense? So be cognitively aware when your brain shifts its focus. Here's the challenge. How many of you know what it means to build up a tolerance? You all familiar with that? Do you realize you've built up if you multitask, you've built up a tolerance to avoid deep work? How many of us know little itty bitties, little kids who have imaginary friends? Isn't that deep work? To say, hey, Billy's here. Who are you talking to? I'm talking to Billy. Who's Billy? He's my imaginary friend. We have conversations and you hear them having both sides of the conversation. Isn't that deep work? Oh, we think it's so cute. No, it's not cute. It's deep. It is cute. It's deep work. How many of you have had a two-person conversation today? I have. And I say I have because I went up to the sheep, and Apollo has a voice, and Bunny has a voice, and Astrid has a voice, and Nola has a voice, and everybody's got a voice. Gizmo has a voice. Get over here and pet me. Yes, I'm moving. You make sure you bring me some grain. I've got the grain. And these are the conversations I have. How many of you have had a conversation with your highest self? What if everything you did, what if everything you were about to do was this concept of being able to move into a higher elevation and understanding of your ultimate goal? What if the filter, you did your next task? Can you listen to the rest of this presentation with the understanding that you are going to be at your highest calling inside of 12 months? So the economic value of deep work, it's rare and in demand. It's rare and in demand. Deep work is a highly valuable skill of modern economy as the ability to focus without distraction and produce high quality, impactful work is becoming increasingly rare. How many people do you know currently deep work? How many people do you know currently deep work? I mean, when you think of them, you're like, they're a deep thinker. How many of you have people like that in your life? I'm just saying, be aware. The number's going to get less and less and less and less until you find that community. Till you start deep working, then you'll find the others who are similar like that. Deep work provides cognitive improvement. How many of you have heard the term MCI? Not the phone company. MCI is called mild cognitive impairment. And mild cognitive impairment is when we start to forget things. It's usually older people. What they found was around Alzheimer's is that the physical representations of Alzheimer's happen typically in most of the cases 20 years after the degradation inside of the brain began. 20 years later, the physical experiences show up. So would it make sense for you to improve your hardware, not the software, the hardware, improve your brain through deeper work? And engaging deeper work enhances cognitive abilities. It gives you a competitive advantage. Do you know somebody that when the stuff's hitting the fan, they're just cool as a cucumber? It's because they know what to think about. They're not thinking about the stuff hitting the fan. They're going, how do I get away from the fan? And how do I shut off the valve that's throwing stuff on the fan? It enables individuals to produce superior work. Listen, the people who have large followings on TikTok, some of those videos, some of those videos they produce are like massive productions. When it's them in 16 different outfits, and we love it. We love it because we don't have to flip through another thing, and we watch. It's the brain, it's the head, it's the heart, it's the butt, it's the this, it's all, and it's the one person who's dressed up in all of these different and they do all of the scripting and they do all of that stuff. They should get a lot of views. And we're competing against that superior work with inferior content. Now, you want to know before you freak out and say, do I have to go put in a production studio? How many of you would like to know that you already have the most magnificent content available? It's called yourself. It's called your story. Nobody has lived your story. Well, nobody wants to hear my story. That's a lie. Have you learned any lessons from your story? There's people out there. There's a bunch of people out there that could create an easy 6-figure income for you if you taught your story, if you taught your lessons. Would you say there's a distraction epidemic? Now, listen, for those of you that are watching this right now, guess what you can do with this? You can go take that, put that up as a post and say, I'm going to be talking about the distraction epidemic today at 4 and make an event. You know what the distraction epidemic is. The question is somebody's going to say, how do I stop that? How do I avoid that? Shallow work dominance. Many organizations prioritize shallow work. How many of you have said, well, how many of you have heard corporations say, well, our mission is to answer all emails within 12 hours? That's shallow work, baby. That's shallow work. The need for discipline. Now, I think the demographic that's usually on my videos, there's some younger people and there's some older people. I can promise you the older people think the younger people need more discipline. But I get crack myself up. But I can promise you the older people, when they were younger, their parents said they need more discipline. Oh my gosh, Elvis Presley is going to ruin people's eyes. There were television stations that wouldn't film him from the hip down, because his jiggly hips was like, it was the devil. It was going to get people pregnant. I don't know, but my point is that it's cuckoo stuff. It's because what we've become aware of. So understand the rarity of deep work. And if there's a rarity of deep work that's being presented and spoken about by the guy who wrote the book, what do you think if you wanted to avoid competition completely? Learn how to deep work. So the meaning of deep work: psychological satisfaction, flow state. Mikhail Csikszentmihalyi. It's like his last name has 22 letters in it. It's amazing. A Russian gentleman who actually coined the term and is responsible for the term called flow. Flow is when you're at the beach and you don't realize it's 6 o'clock and you got to go home. You're like, man, I feel like we just got here. Professional fulfillment. The big one is the psychological factor. From COVID to social media, we are the most connected, the most free-willed individuals. We have the ability to control our lives so much that we are the most uncontrolled, least connected global organization called humans in the history of time. We are the least connected. It's all shallow work. We may have a lot of followers. I promise you. Listen, you could have 10,000 followers, but if you're getting 6 likes, do you realize you've done enough deep work for 6 people, not 10,000? This is a little bit of mental toughness and then the stopping of delusional thinking that you've got all these followers, but if I go to your page and see you have 6 likes, that's all you got. Cultivating deep habits, create your rituals. Start off in the morning. Some of you exercise. Some of you have a ritual for your exercise, right? Give yourself some space to do some deep work. Here's the reality. In the beginning, doing 5 minutes of deep work isn't 5 minutes of deep work. Sorry to say that. Well, it's all I have. It's because you're not doing deep work. Deep work is going to take at least 45 minutes, an hour, to look at a topic, write a topic on a piece of paper, and then just look at that topic. You'll see how many times you get pulled off track. The challenge is that in order to rewire the brain, because your brain is literally wired to shallow work, You think getting a whole bunch of things done is great. Most people, even though they get a whole bunch of things done, they're still poor. They're still poor. Listen, there's some people who have all the money they could ever spend, and they're still poor. You follow me? This is mental profits. Your thoughts create your income. Can you think at a deeper level to produce more positive income into your life? Better income in better relationships, better communities, better income, better health. Deep work is not just about studying. Deep work is every facet of our life. Limit shallow work. Checking emails. Listen, what would happen if you could only check your Instagram once a day? Some of you, your heads might pop off. What if you could only check emails once a day? What if you only responded to voicemails in the morning? All of yesterday's voicemails you responded to, because the ones who need you urgently will be able to ring you out of your slumber. And then track your progress. Embracing boredom and minimizing distractions, a digital detox. What if you went offline for a day, just completely a day? No, nothing, no digital nothing. What's your mindful practice look like? And do you have scheduled breaks? This is a tough one for my bride. My bride is in a very high, stressful, high production kind of environment. And she'll eat at her desk. She'll get up. She'll get some frozen fruit. She'll maybe put some yogurt on it, and she'll sit at her desk and eat. And that's her snack. That's her lunch. That's her snack in the afternoon. And she'll just do that. And walking to the fridge is her break. Can you schedule some breaks? Can you go outside? Do you have access to the outside? If you have access to go outside, then go outside. Go stand with your feet on the grass. If you've got good grass and you've got land that's not all stony and everything else, go stand in the grass for 5 minutes. You'll be amazed at the shift in your body. Simple 5 minutes. But understanding that the next time you're in line at Starbucks, any of you ever been in line at a Starbucks a little longer than you anticipated? How many of you picked up your phone? Can you just stop and look at the drawings on the chalkboard? They wrote all the stuff up. Did they put any scrollies or flowers, or did somebody do any artwork? Count how many tables are in the room. How many chairs are in the restaurant? Why would I do that when I couldn't be checking my Instagram? Because you have to create new wiring to go deep. Can you be present in a Starbucks or in a line? How many feet are in line ahead of you? Not how many people, how many feet? You can pretty much guess. You could just multiply it by 2 if you count the people. I don't know too many people who have 3 feet or 4 feet. Maybe there's a pup in line. How many of you are getting a little nervous right now? How many of you are getting you're feeling a little bit of resistance going, what am I doing? I can watch you. You're backing away from the screens and different things are happening. All of this to say, this is attacking a paradigm that you have. This one's going to make you really freak out. Go get your blood pressure medicine. Quitting social media, selective use, attention. There's some people who have gotten away of their email that says, if you'd like to reach out to me, some of the professors at Wharton, if you'd like to connect with me, here's my address. Send me a letter. Wait, what? They're the youngest tenured professor, and they have written the most articles of any of the professors in the business school of Wharton. That's pretty significant. So time blocking, time prioritization, and reducing meetings. How many of you, listen, this was a free challenge. I sucked up your time. I did. I sucked up your time, or if you're watching the recording, I sucked up your time to watch the recording. Can you reduce meetings that aren't going to be of value to you? Can you start the meeting with an intention that says, I'm doing this because I want that. And as long as I keep hearing nuggets that I know get me to that, I don't need to have checked in. I attended 16 meetings today. Get rid of the strategy and stay in state. Start with your DMP, your definite major purpose. The benefits of deep work: improving your cognitive abilities. It's truly a competitive edge. The reason that I get to do a lot of the things that I get to do is because of my deep work, my competitive advantage. My competitive edge that I have is the ability to respond instantly when somebody asks a question on a pretty broad set of topics. Dedicate your workspace, schedule your sessions, and then routines and rituals. What would be a new routine or a new ritual you would do that would allow you to begin to go deeper in your work? Would you listen to an audiobook with a notebook handy rather than trying to mark it on the audio file? Would you make phone calls to people to say thank you instead of sending them a text? Just little things that you can really, you don't need to learn any new tools or techniques to go deeper today. You will reach a point at the end of the shallow pool or right there at the lip where you go from shallow to really deep work, but it'll seem like deep work in the beginning because you're putting such focus and emphasis. Overcoming the distractions, do an attention audit. When you sit down to go into the deep work on one topic, set up another sheet of paper and just put a tick every time you get distracted. Every time your thought pulls you away. Right? I live on a ranch. Many of you know that. Well, Johnny the rooster crows in the afternoon. He just crowed. That draws my attention away. Well, I'm not going to go cage Johnny. I just need to know that when he does that, I can recognize it. That's him. Everything's fine. And I'm back to work. Unlike when the dogs bark. If the dogs bark and they're barking at something, you know their bark. It's like, uh-oh, somebody's here. Well, Michelle and Mason are here. I can let them handle that. I let them know I'm going into deep work. I'm going into my cave. And they know if the dogs start barking, they need to handle and go out and get the mail or the UPS or whatever it is. What are tools you can use? Can you set a timer on your phone? And can you commit to daily mindful practice? All of these will give you more cognitive ability to learn how to go deep. Time tracking. We used to do it in the old days. We'd have a sheet of paper that would have 8 o'clock, 8:15, 8:30, 8:45, 9 o'clock, 9:15, 9:30, 9:45, 10 o'clock, 10:15. And you would chunk your time into 15 minutes. And you'd have that sheet sitting there. And you'd be doing your deep work and and the timer goes off and you just did it for 25 minutes or half an hour or an hour. And you'd go back and you could put in there, I was working on business, personal, or distraction. You could do income, I, you could do distraction, D. How much of your day was spent doing income producing activities? How many of you have heard of the Pareto principle? The 80-20. 20% of your activities, ladies and gentlemen, if we sat down and did an energy audit or an income audit, 20% of your activities produce how much of your income? 80%. 20% of your income produces 20% of your actions produce 80% of your income. But here's the thing, you'll always have 20, 80. Well, I'll just get rid of the 80% and I'll just do all 80%. I wish it worked that way. You'll increase your income significantly. You'll still have things that you just don't do. So if that's going to be the case, then wouldn't it make sense to track your time and to do the highest production, the highest performing, the highest profitable actions as often as possible? How many of you could increase your income if you talk to more? If more people said yes to your business model, would your income go up? If more people said yes to your business model, would your income go up? So isn't the number one income producing activity you have is to talk to people? Some of you could triple your income in the next 90 days if you just talk to 2 or 3 people a day. You'd be like, you won't believe what happened. And then what's that phrase? Inspect what you expect. Reflect and adjust. Right? For those of you that are part of the inner circle, the part of the morning call, we'll say things like the 3 questions at night. What I do well? What might I have done a little better? And then the 3rd question, what talent, skill, or resource do I need to come into my life tomorrow? But that what could I have done a little better is one of the most powerful, profitable questions I've asked in my life. What could I have done a little better? Couple more slides. The importance of boredom. Embracing boredom and disconnecting from digital distractions. Listen, how many of you wouldn't know what to do if you went to the bathroom without your phone? What? What? What happens if you forget your phone? Hey, can you slide my phone under the door? What if you go without your phone? There's times where I've gone on a 1-hour trip, 1 hour over there that way to Heber Springs and back, and forgot my phone. Well, what if you break down? Yeah, that's a thing. But for how many decades did we have travel without a phone? I feel very confident in most of the places that if I walked up to somebody's house, they'd be okay with it. So can you begin to embrace boredom and begin to embrace some downtime just to sit quietly? It improves your focus and it gives you a psychological recharge. Some of us are just burnt out with our thoughts because we're really not thinking. Cultivating deep work, continuous learning. Continuous learning in the area and the desire and the passion and the thing that's going to produce you income. I love good food. I don't have a desire to learn how to be a good cook. I can cook a lot of things good, but I'm not doing a 3-cheese cream sauce with penny pasta and post points or whatever the hell it is. My continuous learning is in my field, is in my awareness, is in the place where people have come to me and they said, I need you to move me to my next level. So that's what I've gotten good at. Embrace difficulty. Many of us aren't doing the difficult thing. What could you do that would be more difficult in your job? Some people, well, I need to practice it. No, sometimes doing your job in difficult ways, doing it at a much more advanced level, doing it with much more focus, with something new. Make what you're currently doing that produces your income. How do you do it more difficult so that it can become easier? Tony Robbins says we don't lack resources, we lack resourcefulness. And then prioritize your deep work. Last slide, the transformative power. When you begin to gain access to deep work and you understand the functionality of it, and you understand how fast you can function. There was an example this morning on the morning call. I asked somebody to give me a word and I'll do a training on it. And they gave me the word yellow. The word yellow. And I did a 2.5-minute, 3-minute training on the word yellow. I turned it into color. And I did a training as it relates to leadership, as it relates to the sun. Most people wouldn't be able to, as soon as they hear it, okay, here's the word yellow. Yellow is this, and I just started. It was like, well, let me do some research. Let me think of some ideas and some thoughts. People ask me all the time, how do you do that? Because I've done the deep work. What you'll find is that you'll be invited to new events. Your professional transformation will be significant, as well as your personal transformation. So does it make sense to do deep work? Does it make sense that you have the ability and the capacity to deep work? Yes, you do. Is it true? Possibly, maybe, is there a slight chance that you're not doing deep work at this moment? Wouldn't it make sense that if you want more of what you want and less of what you don't, and if you want to step into a place you've never been, you're going to have a foundation that you've never had. This is Joseph Campbell's answering the call, going through the door. Most people stop right there because they have no deep work. They have shallow work. You going on your hero's journey is going to require you to face things you've never faced, see things you've never done. Your purpose-driven payday that you're looking for, that payday that you want because you've done it so well that you're beginning to now influence and access the masses. You've raised your price. You've increased your volume that you get to share and serve and give to. It's all going to require deep work. It's all going to require your brain to upgrade. You've got all of the software. You've got TikTok. You've got Instagram. You've got all of these tools. You've got Web Chat, Weeble Chat, and this chat, and you got all of these technologies. You got AI now, out the yin and the yang, and you have all of these things to help you become productive. You're still in a field of noise until you add your secret sauce to it, your creative capabilities to it. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to require your deep work. So thanks for joining me today. We're a little over an hour, so we're going to open it up for Q&A, or share with me some things you learned and things you like. What's the biggest takeaway, take with you? What's the biggest to-go idea that you got from today's conversation? Thanks for being here. And again, this recording will be on the dashboard. Day one is on the dashboard now in the blog section. So on your phone, you'll have to keep scrolling down and you'll see it there in the blog. So thoughts, comments, feedback, takeaways. All righty. Well, I appreciate your time. Hey, there's Doug Starr in the house.
How much when we go deeper in our deeper dives, how much is that? And when are you going to put that out there?
That'll come out next week. And yeah, I'll have the program up and available. It'll probably be for public consumption $4.95, and for Inner Circle a lot less.
Okay.
And for those who are in donation to the ranch, probably a no fee.
Well, the incidental fee, yes. But the reason I ask is because I'm thinking I could get a couple of college students that would benefit because it's summertime, and
Yep.
what a great period of time to be deep diving.
Yep, absolutely. And they're the ones of significant need. So yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Takeaways. Would you learn? Would you like?
Hello, Sean.
Hello, Wheezy.
Thank you. This is awesome. You asked a question that has just really pinged me, and that was, how much of today have I spent in practice for the ultimate arrival at my dreams? There is so much. And just aside, I somewhere in this room under blankets is my phone.
I love it.
because even I discovered that even under books and stuff, I could hear a vibration. I went, no, it's got to be away. So anyway, that was great. But that question is just so packed.
Yep.
And it's pointed directly at me. Practicing, not checklisting, practicing with my with my dreams. It's the ongoing destination. Destination means an end game to me, but the path in front of me. Anyway, that
So,
was awesome. Thank you.
so here's an example of practice. We went to dinner last night with some friends. And we've been to the restaurant many, many times. We know the restaurant. We have our favorite things. And I ordered a taco salad, chicken and beef, and with everything in it. And the next time I thought about it was when it was delivered. My deep work, my practice was I had set my brain and set my gastrointestinal thing to go get a taco salad because I like the crispy shell. And I never thought about it again until it arrived. I didn't sit there and say, yes, exactly, RC. I didn't sit there and go, hey, did you guys get my order? He took my order. Now, it may come out wrong. How many of you have ever had a wrong order? How many of you ever had an order that was delivered to your table was for another table? It was the right order, the wrong place. So that's practice. Can you order something? And then Michelle talks about it in her manifestation training. Can you order it and forget it?
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Can you go do what you're about to go do today? And is it in alignment with your 12-month goal, your DMP? We've got some credit cards we would like to no longer have credit card bills. So everything I do, every action I do is in the intention of providing enough value to pay off the credit card. This activity, well, this is free. It is for now. I'm building it with such value that somebody sees this. You are all part of the inner circle. Many of you are part of the inner circle community. There's no reason to take from you because you can give to me. It's a lot better to perform in front of an audience than it is by myself. So I'm grateful for you here. So the price for you to attend this significant training on deep work is to show up. And I can't pay you enough to show up. So I understand that. So I'm doing this with the intent that this is now a program. This is a teaser. This is, would you like 3 hours? Would you like 2.5 hours of understanding deep work for $14.95? Normally $97. I'm doing it with the intent to, this isn't just to teach you about deep work. I'm building a product. How many of you, when you're about to go do what you're about to go do, are building the product, building the brand called you? So this is my practice for my performance.
And in you saying that, what I am hearing for myself from my sovereign is that the practice is to start letting go of stuff. I mean, continue to let go of stuff that isn't benefiting because it's in my way. It's the practice. Otherwise, it's not practice, it's checklist, which doesn't get you anywhere.
Well, here's the thing. Most people have heard the phrase, practice makes perfect. No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
Perfect practice.
Yes.
It's perfect. Practice makes progress. And the better you get at practice, the easier and the faster the progress happens that allows you to do the presentation.
Thank you for this, Sean.
You bet.
Thank you for putting in the hours.
I love it. And I love to do it.
I know. And I love to receive it.
I love it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Anyone else before we wrap this up? Thank you all for being here today. Okay. Enjoy the rest of your day. Start thinking about, right? Thinking makes it so. Start thinking about what would it be to do this action a little bit deeper? What would deeper be? It's not a concept we typically think about. And we think deep work is it's a state. No, it's an action. It really is an action. How can I go deeper into this? What distraction is keeping me from going deeper into this? And you'll be amazed at how much you get to undo, right? Personal undevelopment as you move into your next level. So I love it, love it, love it. All right, my Eagleys, I appreciate you so very, very, very much. I hope you have an incredible rest of your day. And for those of you that would like to join us on the morning call, you come back to the dashboard that you signed in to watch this. And on the weekend, on Saturday, we're live at 8 p.m. Central. And during the week, it's 6 a.m. We start with a meditation. And then we do a little...
You just said 8 p.m. You
I'm
meant
sorry, thank
AM.
you. I did say 8 p.m. 8 a.m. See how fast you are attuned to my shadow work of telling time. So yes, 8 a.m. and we'll see you all there. I appreciate you all so very much. We'll see you all where?
The next
event.
event.
At the next event.
At the next event. I love you all. Thanks, everybody, and bye for now.